Please welcome Deepak Chopra.
So I'm going to be punctual because we have 3 other speakers, and 20 minutes each is a lot of time, 120 minutes or whatever. Although this is billed as a war of the worldviews, which was the title of our book, I should say to you right at the start that I'm a lover and not a fighter. Okay, so I'm not going to engage too much in strident warfare. This book that we wrote, Leonard and I, the origin of that was that I was at a debate at Caltech, where Leonard is, and the debate was with Michael Shermer, who's the president and head and founder of the Skeptics Society. When you call them on the phone, the girl who picks it up says, hello, may I help you? This is Skeptics. And my first response, of course, was, I don't believe you. But nevertheless, the debate went extremely well, I thought, till the moderator of the debate, a Nightline person, pulled Leonard out of the crowd. He knew that Leonard was a physicist. And he said, do you have any objection to what Dr. Chopra is saying? And Leonard said, yes, I have lots of problems with his physics. And I'm writing this book with Stephen Hawking called Grand Design, and he could learn a few things about physics. So that got a lot of attention in the media as well. And I thought to myself, maybe he can teach me some physics, and maybe I can teach him a little about consciousness. And so when the book started out, and I have to say, I was very happy with the book because at the end of the book, there are 2 lines that are my favorite in the book, where Leonard says, science cannot say that God does not exist, quote unquote. And the second line in the book is, science cannot say why there are laws of nature. Why do the laws of nature exist? You'll have your turn.
I like that in the book in which you wrote half and I wrote half, your favorite 2 lines are mine.
That's it. They are, because they reinforce my worldview. In any case, I don't expect that any of you will go out of here having changed your minds. All the data shows that no matter what we say, no matter what the evidence, no matter what the logic, rational arguments are, you'll go back with your worldview reinforced. And that part of your brain that is responsible for your worldview will actually light up on a functional MRI. So I don't expect you to change your minds. In the remaining 18 minutes, I want to give you a very brief and very, I hope, precise definition of what I mean by science, which I think most of our friends here will agree with, or maybe not. But here is how I see science as a system. It builds and organizes knowledge through explanations that can be tested, leading to predictable results. It's based on a loop of observation, hypothesis, experiment, and validation. It relies on objective empirical facts, uses measurement to quantify nature, usually in terms of units of mass, energy, velocity, and position, particularly in physics, and employs mostly the reductionist method that David Chalmers. And by the way, I'm really honored that you are here to moderate this. You've been a hero for many years. I've been following everything you say. I've been totally taken by your expositions on qualia and the heart problem.
Spirituality wins.
So, and then science employs the reductionist method, turning experience into data. Consciousness has been variously defined, but I'm going to give you my view of consciousness, which is based on the perennial wisdom tradition of India called Vedanta. And consciousness is subjectivity, as you mentioned. It's awareness, the ability to experience or feel, having a sense of selfhood, that I exist, and also the executive control of the mind through, of course, the brain. The principally the prefrontal cortex. In Vedanta, consciousness is the potential for experience or awareness. So it's not the observer, it's the potential for both the observer and that which is observed. Absolute or pure consciousness is being or existence in the system of Vedanta, in the perennial wisdom tradition of Vedanta, where consciousness has been a subject of exploration in the only lab that consciousness can be studied in, and that is consciousness itself. Okay? And this has been the subject of exploration for approximately the last 5,000 years. Absolute or pure consciousness is being or existence, and it is prior to subject-object split. In Vedanta, pure consciousness is the ground of existence and is variously referred to in Sanskrit as Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means truth. Chit is the actual Sanskrit word for consciousness or to know. And Ananda is the state of bliss or, bliss consciousness. Here is what I see as the scientific dilemma. Science, being based on objective measurement, finds itself in a dilemma because consciousness cannot be directly observed or measured. It cannot be observed because it is always the observer. It cannot be measured because it's the one doing the measuring. All scientific validation of consciousness is therefore inferential and not direct. The only direct experience of consciousness is self-awareness. In other words, only consciousness can understand consciousness, only consciousness can know consciousness, and only consciousness can experience consciousness. And my definition, therefore, of spirituality is that conscious spirituality is a progressive journey in self-awareness. And spiritual discipline is the only valid way of understanding and experiencing higher consciousness directly. Because I express these here because I know that even in a scientific audience, there are some people who believe that science is a way of finding ultimate reality. Since science is based on observation and measurements, it is assumed to be the only reliable way of knowing truth. This is a metaphysical assumption. No one has ever proven that data is superior to experience, and truth, like all experiences, occurs in consciousness. Discovering the facts can never be purely objective as long as science consists of questions and answers perceived through human awareness or human consciousness within the limits of the human nervous system. Matter, including atoms and molecules, have no physical properties by themselves, according to quantum physics. And I'll leave that argument to my physicist colleague, Menas. Matter and molecule are words invented by human beings to explain experiences in consciousness. So that solidity, position, color, mass, including time and space, are actually subjective experiences in consciousness. They're qualia. And we don't experience matter, we experience qualia. We do not experience matter. We do not experience physical matter or a physical world. We experience sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, and we call that experience the physical world. A lot of scientists have huge problems with this because they actually believe they are bamboozled by the hallucination of or elucidation of the physical world, which actually doesn't exist. It's not that consciousness is an illusion, matter is an illusion. What Heisenberg said is what we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to a method of questioning. John Wheeler, every particle, every field of force, even the space-time continuum, derives its function, its meaning, its very existence entirely from apparatus-elicited answers to yes or no questions. This is a participatory universe. It's a human universe. Science, furthermore, is an activity in consciousness. Observations are made in consciousness. Theories are conceived in consciousness. And science cannot explain consciousness, but consciousness can conceive and construct the scientific method. The scientific method is an offspring of consciousness. Science is therefore, and I should have another fact over there, experiments are designed in consciousness as well. Science is therefore the offspring of consciousness and never escapes it. It is, if there is a reality beyond our awareness, it is unknowable. Even mathematical explanations take place in consciousness. This is a very interesting conversation that took place in 1930. I have extracted that conversation from the New York Times. It's a conversation between two, really, a great scientist and a great seer. And basically, Tagore takes the point of view, being a Vedantist, he takes the point of view that I have just given you in the preceding few minutes. What Tagore says is this is a human, this is where they met, and you can find this on the internet, and they have a very friendly conversation. But basically what Tagore says is that the scientific universe is a human universe. It is a universe that is understood through the human nervous system. It's species specific, is based on questions we ask and answers that we elicit through apparatus, that there is therefore the physical world is subjective. Even the objective data is a measurement of subjective experience. That what we call physical reality is conscious agents and their perceptual experiences. And these are species specific. And essentially what we experience are what David Chalmers would call qualia. And Einstein says that is a purely human conception of the universe. You see that last line? He says that's a purely human conception of the universe, to which Einstein responds, the world is a human world. The scientific view of it is also that of the scientific human being or scientific man. Therefore, the world apart from us does not exist. It is a relative world depending for its reality upon our consciousness. There is some standard of reason and enjoyment which gives it truth, the standard of the eternal man whose experiences are made possible through our experiences. So that's his Vedantic point of view. And Einstein says this is a realization of the human entity. And Tagore says, yes, one eternal entity. We have to realize it through our emotions and activities. We realize the supreme man who has no individual limitations through our limitations. And he's talking about, of course, non-local consciousness in this case. And the conversation goes on, and you can find it later. But the end of the conversation actually is Einstein concedes. He says, then I am more religious than you are. And Tagore says, my religion is the reconciliation of the superpersonal man, the universal spirit, in my own individual being. So me, the individual observer, is a localized bundle in a more non-local consciousness. So I think here we confront the deeper truth, that the most fundamental scientific fact is not the existence of the universe, but an awareness of that universe. Because if you did not have the awareness of the universe, how would it matter anyway? Science makes models of experience, but a model is not the same thing as the real thing. A mathematical or biological description of reality is not the experience of reality. The universe is human because we know it only through experience. The mystery of experience leads us to find explanations, which is a secondary activity. The primary activity is participation, and we are all co-creators of every aspect of the cosmos. Transformation of consciousness therefore leads to a transformed reality. Science is therefore partial truth because it is based on a subject-object split. The subject-object split is, I'm the subject of experience, you're the object of experience. But in fact, as you mentioned, holism, reality is one. The universe is an activity, a verb and not a noun. Observation freezes the activity, turns the process into a thing. but things are artifacts of perception. The activity of the universe is a single movement in wholeness. Therefore, the universe is subjective, and as measured quantitatively, is founded on the subjective experience of that universe, which is felt and sensed qualitatively. Hence, therefore, the hard problem exists because of the scientific assumption, a metaphysical assumption, that consciousness is a property of matter. It is based on that assumption, and then we ask the question, how do electrochemical interactions give us the experience of a three-dimensional space-time reality? How does a garlic-sensitive neuron give rise to the experience of the taste or smell of garlic? And thus, experience remains a mystery because possibly the question is based on the wrong metaphysical assumption. So we are left in this extremely embarrassing position in science of having actually no theory for consciousness. There is no scientifically testable theory of consciousness.
I think your co-author is going to be upset with you.
My time is up?
I think Stuart is going to be upset with you.
Oh, well, his theory is an approximation and inferential. There is a solution to the hard problem if you are willing to forsake the assumption that consciousness is a property of organized matter and look at the possibility that matter is a property of consciousness. And therefore, everything that we call the world, substantiality, spaciousness, temporality, color, form, taste, smell, emotions, feelings, images, are qualia which we experience as sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. The sensation of a separate eye is a qualia. The sensation of the other is a qualia. And these are innate in the setup of consciousness. They are potential forms in pure consciousness prior to the subject-object split. And this is the Vedic worldview, which says the essence of each person, pure consciousness, colored by qualia. We experience the soul as unfolding or evolving in time through cycles of actualization, which is recycling of information and energy. And you can experience this as the outer world, but the outer world is perceived phenomena as qualia in here. There is no out there. There is only in here. Consciousness is both the subject and the object. Just as quanta were first described as units of mass and energy, qualia are basic qualities of awareness. Qualia as human experience are symbolically represented as the data of science. Who are we? We are a qualia matrix, a continuum of unfolding from probability clouds that exist non-locally, arise in transcendent and infinite field of possibilities, and our conditioned self is the qualia matrix. Our unconditioned self is transcendent and pure. And then I go on to develop a framework of how, as we move to more non-local states of awareness, more subtler states of awareness, our experience of the physical world changes, because the physical world is actually a projection of our own consciousness, and that includes your body and your brain, by the way. Because how do you experience the body and the brain? As qualia gestalt in consciousness. Okay, I think I'm probably done. You say, how can you prove this? Well, you can prove this in the laboratory of consciousness through the four methods that Vedanta talks about. Raj Yoga, which is self-reflection, meditation, asking meaningful questions in consciousness about meaning and purpose. Bhakti Yoga, which is the qualia yoga, because it's based on feeling. Jnana Yoga, which is based on understanding. And Karma Yoga, the path of evolutionary action. In the Vedantic tradition, these are the 7 states of consciousness that are described, and they have their own correlates. So in deep sleep, no perception. In dreaming, perception of illusory images in here. In waking, perception dominated by objects out there and mental activity in here, although the objects out there are qualia in our own consciousness. In pure consciousness, awareness of the self with no sub-objects or mental activity. Cosmic consciousness, awareness of the self maintained along with inner and outer worlds. Divine consciousness, reality dominated by quanta, light and bliss. Unity, no object or subject-object split. I am that, you are that, all this is that. That's all there is. Thank you very much.